Splintered Block 5. Fully functioning junk? The following unsolicited advice is not to be taken as any kind of reliable gospel, medical or otherwise. Having said that, in the grand scheme of things, there are many savage truths, most of which need not be covered here. But oh, when things break, or languish, or pass their sell-by date, any one of these outcomes could be considered a rabid catastrophe on their own, and probably should be. Were it not for said degradation, other less distressful outcomes might be up for consideration, but only insofar as they don't suffer the consequences of being a member of the aforementioned grouping. Now, this analysis, as it were, can be applied to any number of variables, many of which affect quality of life, quantities of loss, or they just plain suck. I'm placing my bets in the latter camp. Not that it matters to the recipient of such an affliction. In such cases, applying standard definitions is hardly more than a foregone afterthought. If everything I've said so far doesn't make sense, well, I don't know what else to tell you. But I'll do it anyway. Many would surmise that a congenital factor is the underlying cause of tender considerations not polling as they should. And in some circumstances, this may be the case. Does that change anything? Perhaps, but don't quote me on that. Or anything else for that matter. Beyond the indigenous root lay a plethora of suitably latent certainties that no amount of chemical edge can render invalid. It may just be, and hear me out on this, that mental entropy plays a larger role than most, or at least many, will be willing to accept, since this requires a level of self-reflection largely mired in faded dreams of prowess and larger than necessary levels of youthful delusion. Also, time is a harsh mistress, and redundancy is a piss-poor co-pilot. In short, comfort zones can be confining and familiarity is apt to wither, leaving once assured diversion sadly lacking or altogether pointless. At this stage, any effort to rise and shine will be entirely beguiled by a certain dearth of deeper interest. Is this malaise revertible? A common question. Can the former stage of grace be reinstated and return to something even vaguely resembling its sort of glory? Not really, no. Regrettably, the likelihood of such an unfounded rebound is directly tied to the original source of distension and therefore nearly impossible to fully realize. In other words, the solution would need to precede the problem in the first place instead of the second. And the more time that passes before enacting even the most mediocre course correction, the more likely any remaining parts, however serviceable, will be subject to rust. In conclusion, lackluster handling can lead to a loss of privileges once thought to be innate. In truth, they aren't, and never were. And once the rot has set in, the rate of decay may be impossible to assuage.